Fun Ideas Productions presents the Fun Ideas Podcast.
If you're unhappy most of the time, and you're indoors when the sun begins to shine, you're bogged down with responsibility. When the good sun shines, you can come out with me.
Hi, this is Mark Arnold, and welcome to Fun Ideas Podcast number 292.
Hi, this is Mark Slade, co-author of Crazy, the magazine that dared to be dumb. There's interviews with Steve Gerber, Marv Wolfman, Paul Lakin, Larry Hama, and a whole host of other people, creators of Crazy Magazine. I wrote this book with Mark Arnold, and you can check it out on Amazon and Bear Manor Media.
The Fun Ideas Podcast is brought to you in part by Freaky Magazine. I contribute material to every issue, so give it a try.
Hey kids, have you read Freaky? The magazine of weird humor for freaks like you. Freaky Magazine is a way-out collection of weirdo comics, kooky gags, photo funnies, social satire, and surreal collage. 52 pages of insanity in the tradition of magazines of yore like Cracked, Plop, and Zap. Special offer for Fun Ideas listeners, get a free sample copy in the mail. Made of smelly newsprint and smudgy ink the old-fashioned way. Just message your mailing address to theslowpoisoner@gmail.com. That's theslowpoisoner@gmail.com while supplies last.
Friends, have you tried Lee's Comics? Lee's Comics is better than the leading comic book store. Wait a minute. Lee's Comics is the leading comic book store, based on arbitrary standards set by Lee Hester himself.
Lee's Comics was named as one of the 21 best online dealers by popoptique.com. To shop the Lee's Comics eBay store, go to eBay and search for Lee's Comics Inc. That's LEESCOMICSINC, period. Don't forget the period. Mention the Fun Ideas Podcast when you order, and you'll receive a free bonus gift.
Hey, it's Charles Rosenay from the Monkeys Interview Show here on Monkey Mania Radio. So proud to announce the release of a brand new book called Not Just Happy Together, The Turtles from A to Z. That's right, the other band besides our Monkeys who should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, The Turtles, a great new book that's a discography. It's got interviews, it's got reviews, it's got everything you might want to read about. If you're a 60s fan like I am and love the Beatles and the Monkeys and the Turtles, Not Just Happy Together has a front cover and a back cover by Henry Diltz, a forward by Gary Puckett, and it's published by Genius Music Books, an imprint of Genius Book Publishing, now available from www.notjusthappytogether.com. Hope you pick it up. I know you're going to love it and enjoy all the stuff about the Turtles. Thank you for listening to Monkey Mania Radio. Hey.
My latest books are about the Turtles musical group and about the humor magazines Mad and Crazy, with a book on Plop coming soon. On today's show, we have a returning guest who's now an author who has written a book called The Beatles Collected Videography. Here he is, Bill Last. Hi, this is Mark Arnold, and it's another episode of Fun Ideas Podcast. And today I have a returning guest. He was talking before about the Beatles. Now he's written a book about the Beatles. His name is Bill Last. Bill, how are you?
Very well, thank you. How about you, Mark?
I'm doing well, too. Thanks.
Very good.
So I think the last time we were here, you were just kind of talking about your interest with the Beatles and, everything else that you've done in your life. But now you've written a book, so I guess the burning question is, what caused you to finally write a book? and what is this book, too?
Let me let your listeners know. It is called The Beatles Collected Videography. Subtitle, A Guide to Collecting Group and Solo Video, 1962 to 2024. It's a 205-page softcover book that is available only on Amazon, or you can get it signed directly from me, and I guess we can go into that later. Mm-hmm. It has a striking red, white, and blue cover, not so much for being patriotic, but a tip of the hat to the red vinyl, blue vinyl, white vinyl that has come out over the years on various Beatles releases. And what started this, I've been working on this project now for give or take 7 years.
Wow.
I started in 2017. Originally, I just got so backlogged in watching video that I purchased or traded or acquired that I wanted to start to put it in some kind of an order just so I know what I had, because as we get older, we start to forget a few things. Mm-hmm. And a perfect example of that is a dear friend of mine who passed away. It was a drummer. His name is Mike Strito, good friend of Charles Rosenay's as well. Mm-hmm. And being a drummer, he had an interest in Ringo Starr and his all-star band. And he would often inundate me with questions about who was in this band, was there a video release, was there audio release? And just off the top of my head, I could not do this anymore. So I actually started with the Beatles, mm-hmm. and then I went to Paul, and then knocked out John, George, and Ringo in that order. And again, watching these videos, writing about them, keeping track of them, whether they're commercially released or not, took 7 years. And I'm very pleased at the outcome. We've only found a few minor mistakes as far as grammar goes in the book, an intentionally skipped line or a comma here or there. But I think this book is friendly enough for someone. I guess the highest compliment someone could give me is if they own Beatles video and they're sitting down to watch it, they have my book nearby and they can look it up and see where it falls in the Beatles' history and exactly what it is they're watching.
Okay. Now you kind of answered this with your answer there, but you also cover things that haven't been officially released, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I cannot tell you where to obtain any of these, but I got into video and VCRs and that in the early 80s. At that time, when I kind of got into it, only Betamax was the standard. And then VHS came along, and I originally owned one of the top-end Panasonic machines back in the early 80s. Mm-hmm. And, I just started to find collectors and traders in the various Beatles fanzines. Charles Rosenay's Good Day Sunshine, a perfect example. And I started to build my collection. And interestingly enough, the very first video I acquired was the Beatles' first 3 appearances on the Ed Sullivan Show. That was the very first thing I got. However, the second show from Miami, I did not get the broadcast. I got the afternoon rehearsal. So I had the first and third show and the afternoon rehearsal, and that was the very first piece of video I ever acquired on a videotape. And, back then people in the pre-computer age, we did everything by sitting down and writing or typing out a letter and putting it in the mail, and you see what I have, I see what you have, what do you need, what do I need, and it just snowballed from there.
Mm-hmm. Now, at this point, and we'll just cover, like, the actual Beatles years, so 62 to 70, okay. Is every known piece, I mean, how to phrase this, is everything available, known, or known available, or whatever? I mean, is there, at this point, is there, like, a concert that somebody might have mysteriously filmed that could still come out there, or has everything kind of been uncovered legal or illegally at this point?
Okay, well, it's a two-pronged answer. We never know what someone is going to discover. Could be the grandson or great-grandson of found that their grandmother taped amateurishly some footage from Beatles concerts. Remember at the time, unless you were really into it, the recording cameras that you had were all vision only. There was no audio. So there's always a chance that a few seconds will show up from this concert that we've never seen before, or that concert. but they're not official releases.
Right.
Matter of fact, Ron Howard had to go after some of these from a source that had taken color footage of the Beatles at the Washington Coliseum, their first American concert.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, it was blended in with other, audio. But here was color footage we had never seen before.
Mm-hmm.
So in that respect, who knows who's going to stumble on what, tomorrow, next week, next month, next year. The other thing is, and you have to realize that when the Beatles started in really we have some other guy from the Cavern in 62, but
right.
their other television appearances started in 63. From 63 to 64, sadly, there's a dozen or more TV shows the Beatles appeared on in England, all in black and white, all lip syncing,
mm-hmm.
That have just been wiped, and we will never see them. I've researched what shows these are,
mm-hmm.
but we're never going to see them because the best someone would be able to do is shoot it off their television screen, which a couple of years ago someone actually did.
Mm-hmm.
The holy grail of Beatles video is their very last television appearance on Top of the Pops in 1966.
Okay.
They had put out Paperback Writer and Rain, and they appeared on this show. You can always tell it's the show because they are behind Ringo, and there are semicircles of light behind them.
Mm-hmm.
And someone shot maybe 30 seconds of it off their TV screen all those years ago, and it just recently surfaced, obviously without audio, but we know it's that show.
Right.
But at the time they decided, they wiped it, and it's never going to be seen again. However, the consolation prize is that video shoot. Now this is 1966. Gave way to a lot of photographers taking beautiful pictures, both color and black and white, from that Top of the Pops appearance.
Okay.
And they've been the subject of many books, just these photos alone. But we get photos, but we don't have the video.
Right. And it's funny, you're anticipating some questions and I kind of figured that would be the last appearance that's kind of unknown or missing or whatever. I mean,
right.
When it was recorded, do you know enough about it in this respect? Because this is what I don't know. Was it ever rebroadcast at the time, or was it just it went out live and that was it?
Well, I don't know if it was. I don't remember if it was actually live in the studio. It could have been, and it was a lip sync.
Uh-huh.
And as far as I know, Top of the Pops, it was broadcast only once. And it wasn't saved, so we're never going to see it again. It was never broadcast in America or any other country, for that matter, in any way, shape, or form.
Mm-hmm.
So you basically got one shot on the BBC in black and white, and that was it.
Wow. It's kind of amazing, just considering how big they were at that point. I mean, you can kind of understand something from 62 or 63, but by 66, it seems like they were already saving everything, but I guess not. So.
And you have to keep in mind, after Paperback Writer and Rain, the next videos to come out would be Penny Lane and Strawberry Fields Forever.
Mm-hmm. And
so the Beatles went from an appearance on Top of the Pops to those promo films, because the Top of the Pops were not promo films. It was just another television appearance.
Mm-hmm.
That's sadly, it's not the greatest piece of the film or video that they ever did, but it would be nice to have and plug a hole in our collections, but it's not going to happen.
Yeah. Unless, I know you'll probably hate this idea, somebody recreates it with AI or something like that,
Yeah.
And it's like,
I have an expression I like to use when I talk to other collectors, and that I like to collect things of their time.
Yeah.
I want something that I have to be how it was back in 62 to 70 for the Beatles. I don't want someone taking the Hey Jude promo film and, with AI or whatever else, making different edits and turning it into something different.
Yeah.
I want to see what they created in their time.
Yeah.
And they certainly have a lot to choose from here.
Yeah.
I mean, just taking into consideration Paul McCartney from the Beatles through his solo career, he has left so much audio and video and film behind. I don't know when the guy ever has a chance to sleep. It's an enormous body of work.
Yeah.
It's just amazing. It baffles me. As I said, I started the book researching the Beatles, and then when I finally kind of got a handle on them, I went to Paul, and it seems like the Paul section would never end.
Yeah.
Finally, I got through it, and then we did John, George, and Ringo. I would say half the book is probably Beatles and Paul, and the second half of the book is John, George, Ringo.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense, since Paul was always the hardest worker, and fortunately or unfortunately, how you look at it, it survived the longest, other than Ringo. So, you don't have those years, of course, so not to be morbid, but yeah.
John and George have probably about the same left behind.
Yeah.
George would be the least.
Yeah.
Material left behind.
Yeah.
John a little bit more, but you have to realize a lot of it came out after his death in 1980.
Right.
And Paul and Ringo have really never stopped. A few years off here and there, but they basically have never stopped. So, it adds up.
Yeah. Now, was it harder for you? Because the reason I asked just the Beatles years 62 to 70 is, there's only so many appearances. There's only so many films, even if they were all kept. But as we progress, especially in the last decade or two, everybody has a cell phone. Everybody has, easier ways to record things and stuff like that. Was it harder or more complex the more recent you got of what's out there?
No, because the internet has come along, and just about everything is up on the internet. I mean, there's always new things that collectors find and put out there on the market. A lot of it comes from Japan. A lot of it comes from Holland.
Yeah.
And there's always something new out there that we've never seen before, or an improved quality or whatever.
Right.
I'd say the hardest part was going back to 1962 and 1963, because, again, I'm finding things that no longer exist.
Oh, I see. Okay. Well, I guess I was thinking more of like, Paul McCartney concert or Ringo All-Star Band concert, and you got Bob's video that he shot and uploaded on YouTube. And then you got Sally's video that she shot on YouTube. I mean, are you that meticulous? You're going through everybody's camera angles of the same concert, or what?
It's impossible to document amateur footage.
Okay.
So I can only go with what's out there, unless I know a certain concert has come out.
Yeah.
They're never pro shot. The only Ringo pro shot concerts with his All-Star Band are the DVDs that he has put out himself.
Okay, so there's
probably live video footage from every concert he's ever given.
Yeah.
But it's all amateur footage, unless he put out himself.
Okay, so you're focusing mainly on what would arguably be professional footage.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Given a choice of, Ringo and the All-Star Band in 1989 was the first year out. Given a choice of, do I want the official video that he put out, or do I want someone's amateur footage where the camera is panning up and down and left and right, and all over the place, and maybe it stays still for a few seconds. Other than that, it's like putting a camera around a dog's neck and telling him to run around.
Okay.
There's just, unless there's such a unique song that was performed that
Right.
nowhere else.
Right.
Or
Okay.
Paul McCartney makes a guest appearance, or something like that. But no, the amateur stuff is of way lesser interest than the professional stuff.
Okay. I just didn't know how thorough you got because obviously
Yeah,
I haven't officially read the book, so it's
Can't
like
keep track of amateur footage. They would need some of the stuff from my cell phone over the years that I've seen Ringo. So those are wonderful memories to have to show your friends that, yes, you were there, and here's a little bit of Ringo singing Octopus's Garden. But as far as collecting
right.
go, there's little or none.
Okay. And then I assume you're listing all their like feature films, like group and solo and everything like that.
Let me give you a little tour through the table of contents.
All right.
Okay?
That might help.
That's a good idea, and sum it up. Okay. First of all, I'm very grateful to Tom Frangione for writing the foreword to the book.
Mm-hmm.
And now we get into the Beatles. Okay. First of all, collecting the Beatles on DVD, I list all of the commercial releases of videos that you can go out and buy or order from Amazon or whatever, like A Hard Day's Night, Help, Magical Mystery Tour, Let It Be, so on and so forth. That's where you start your collection, getting what's available everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Then I did a review of the One Plus Deluxe Limited Edition that came out a number of years ago, and it's probably my favorite Beatles DVD that I own because it has all of their promo films,
right.
And they've even pieced together some newly constructed videos,
mm-hmm.
so it gives you an idea of what's original and what's new. Then I go through all the Beatles promo films and videos.
Mm-hmm.
Then I do all the Beatles UK television broadcasts from 1962. That would be Some Other Guy. To 1968, which would be Hey Jude and Revolution from the David Frost Show. Mm. After that, they just released promo films, and England got them, America got them, Germany got them, everybody. That was used to promote their records. Mm-hmm. Then I go to the U.S. television broadcast. These go from 64 to 2024. Then I break down all of the various Hey Jude and Revolution promo videos. Mm. They've been a subject of discussion over the years. Well, I can honestly say that they recorded 3 takes of Hey Jude and 2 takes of Revolution. Mm. Now, the 2 takes of Revolution is easy. We got the American one on the Smothers Brothers show.
Right.
And in England, they got it on Top of the Pops. Hmm. But Hey Jude now, they had 3 complete run-throughs, and what they did is they cut each promo in half. So you have the verses and chorus in the per verse part, and the na-na-nas in the second part. And what they did is they created videos. You could take I'll call it the song and the chorus. You could take the song from take 1 and match it to the chorus in take 3. Mm. And that's how these were done over the years. We never got to see a complete take. We were always seeing half of one, half of another. Hmm. Well, I put all this to rest there, and I come up with what actually is the 3 correct takes without any editing, and I talk about those. I talk about the Beatles at the movies, their major commercial film releases, collecting the Let It Be feature film and all the different versions that have come out over the years. Mm-hmm. Complete listing of all the Beatles cartoons and Beatles portrayed by actors. I mean, for example, Backbeat that came out a number of years ago, basically about the Beatles in Hamburg. Mm. So there are actors portraying them. Okay. And then select broadcast documentaries over the years, mostly from England, but a few from America as well. And that's my Beatles section. You're following me so far?
Yes.
Okay, now we're going to go to John. His is shorter. John, I do a section on his promo films and videos. I explain that this book will contain Lennon material with Yoko, but it will not contain Yoko material with John.
Hmm.
So anything that is focused on Yoko, that obviously John's going to be a part of, I decided, there are those Yoko detractors out there. I let it go with John featured videos.
So that means no walking on thin ice, for example?
What was that?
So that means like no walking on thin ice, for example?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Because he may have participated, but it wasn't his record.
Right,
Okay.
exactly.
Okay.
And Yoko did films that were primarily Yoko's films with John's assistance, like, for example, Fly.
Right.
I'm not going to put that in a book on John Lennon videos. That's the road I took, and after running that idea, many other collectors and friends, they agreed that someone wants to collect John. They're collecting John for John, not John and Yoko.
Got it.
If she happens to be there, great, but it's not focusing on her career.
Right.
It's focusing on John's career,
Yeah.
and obviously there's a lot of overlap.
Yeah.
After John's promo films and videos, I document all his live performances, whether they ever got released on video or not, and other commercial releases and broadcasts, and then finally a whole list of John Lennon commercials used to promote various releases over the years, from mainly American and UK.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Paul is going to have...
Well, before you go to Paul, I have a quick question about John.
Yeah.
Since he didn't live as long, and he didn't do that many live performances. But I was thinking, and I've thought about this many times over the last few years, has every live appearance of John from 69 through 75, I guess is his last appearance, been filmed in some sort or manner, regardless if it's been released?
Okay, well, I was going to throw this in and I forgot, and now you just reminded me. We realized that when John and Yoko got together, they literally filmed or taped everything that they were doing in their lives,
right,
almost on a day-to-day basis. Okay? So now, the end of 1969, John is asked to appear at a concert for UNICEF to raise money. It was, I think it was December 31st of 1969.
Right.
And he accepted the invitation, and he had a whole super group of friends show up. This is the last time that George and John shared a stage. There was Eric Clapton, a number of members from Delaney and Bonnie's band, Keith Moon, a whole slew of people. And unbelievably, this was not filmed or taped.
Okay.
Only about 30 seconds of black and white footage is available on a newsreel, but it has a voiceover, so you have no idea what song they're actually singing. Huh. And they only did 2 songs. They did Cold Turkey, and they did Don't Worry, Kyoko, Mommy's Only Looking for Her Hand in the Snow. And they ended up releasing the audio to that on the second album of the Sometime in New York City 2 record set.
Right.
So one side was the Frank Zappa show from June of 71 when they first came to America to finish working on the Imagine album, and then going back to the UNICEF concert. John always thought quite highly of this appearance. He mentioned on more than one occasion that the young kid, he swears the young kids in the audience, like the really young kids in the audience, were the kids that grew up to do punk music. Because it was just a wash of sound coming off that stage. I mean, Cold Turkey went on for minutes and minutes, and Don't Worry, Kyoko went on even longer than that. That it was this barrage of sound coming off the stage. And John feels these young kids a few years later were forming punk bands.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, that is real. I really can't think of anything else that has not been released in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
Which now flash forward to this year. All right, word is out that Sean Lennon is going to restore and remaster both one-to-one concerts.
Right.
And that he is going to put them both out on a boxed set, scheduled for, of all things, John's birthday on October 9th.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I guess I would rather have them do the best of each concert and put out one really killer show like they did for the concert for Bangladesh. They have to realize that there's a lot of Yoko in the actual one-to-one concert. We've only ever seen a couple of numbers on the Live in New York City videotape that was released after John's death, and then also on the original ABC television special they broadcast on one-to-one back in 1972.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if people are ready for minutes and minutes and minutes of Yoko in between the John songs.
Well, I mean, that's what chapter skip is for, so it's probably not too...
Yeah, well, I mean, it's his mother and everything, and I understand that, but Yoko has gained, I would think, a lot of respect over the years. That goes without saying.
Yeah.
I think she handled the estate of her husband and overseeing releases and new projects and things like that. They've all been very tasteful.
Yeah. I will respectfully
yeah.
disagree with you that they shouldn't be released in total, only due to the fact that there's so few Lennon live appearances, period. You know,
Right.
if he'd been still alive, now, with Paul, whatever, and, they were re-releasing it, I'd agree with you. I'd say, yeah, just put the best of those two concerts. But since there's just precious little footage, I would like to see the entire show, even if he has the exact same stage banter or whatever he did, because I haven't seen it, on both shows.
Either film-wise, I like to use the word film when it's film and video when it's video.
Yeah.
Film-wise, both shows were captured in audio and film.
Yeah.
So we will be I think you're going to have your wish on October 9th of this year. But what some people don't realize is they did the show in August of 72.
Mm-hmm.
A few months later, in December of 72, there was an ABC television special of the one-to-one concert. And obviously, in an hour with commercials time, you're not going to get a lot of the concert.
Right.
So they showed not only opening acts, Roberta Flack and I think Stevie Wonder and a few others that were opened along the way. The John material they used was from the night show, which was a lot tighter and better because they used the afternoon to, John even called it Welcome to the Rehearsal.
Yeah.
And so the second show was much tighter.
Mm-hmm.
So we got only, I think, 5 Lennon songs from that on the ABC TV special.
Yeah.
But after John's death, they went through the archives there and they put out the videotape Live in New York City. You notice one-to-one is not mentioned at all in this title.
Right.
John Lennon Live in New York City. And they used the afternoon show, which I guess if you were just watching it and you didn't know there was a better version out there, you would just accept that that's the way it is.
Yeah.
But comparing the ABC broadcast of sections of the night show to the afternoon concert, even though we're getting more of it on the videotape, there's no question the night show was much tighter.
Yeah.
So, again, I think John's going to throw everything out there at it.
Yeah, I think the night show is, I'm like one of those later Beatle fans, so what was released on Live in New York City is what I saw. And if I've seen anything of the evening show, it's only just by pure luck that they put a clip of it in some later John Lennon documentary or something or whatever, but I never saw that one-to-one special you're referring to. I don't even know if it's been released anywhere, so...
Oh, the ABC special?
The ABC one, yeah.
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 Yeah, and, and again, that was shown once and only once. And just to stray from video for a second, John did sanction, again, 4 or 5 of the songs to be broadcast on the King Biscuit Flower Hour. But again, that was only audio, and it was mixed really well. I mean, I thought the quality of those performances is great, which is going to lead me to believe they're from the night show instead of the afternoon show. But yeah, most people are not familiar with these. Now, have you seen the recent one-to-one John and Yoko movie?
No, I have not. I know it's out, but...
Okay, well, I would think the way they're promoting it, one-to-one John and Yoko, that you would be getting, it's a concert film.
Yeah.
Well, that could not be further from the truth. I did see it, and I enjoyed it on the basis that in 1972-73, I was a senior in high school.
Mm-hmm.
So I lived through that time. I lived through the political turmoil of that time, Vietnam War, Richard Nixon, etc.
Yeah.
So all of those clips made an impression on me because I could sit there and go, I remember that. But the movie is not really about the one-to-one concert. One-to-one concert, I think I just wrote in one of my articles, it was just as a backdrop to the movie. It was really about the political climate of America in 72 and 73 and how John and Yoko fit into this by hooking up with Jerry Rubin and Abbie Hoffman and whatever.
Yeah. Now I have seen that other documentary.
Actually, you only get, I forget, there was 5 or 6 songs used, not complete.
Right.
Many with voiceovers. And the strangest thing is when they announced that it was going to come out as a movie several months ago, they used a complete performance of John doing Well, Well, Well from his Plastic Ono Band album as emotional video for this movie. Yet, the movie does not have the video in it at all.
Interesting. No,
so I think this whole first round is just to whet people's appetite for what we're going to get later in the year.
Yeah. The only thing I've seen in recent time is Daytime Revolution, the one about the earlier in the year Mike Douglas show appearances and stuff. So I have seen that. I have that. And, of course, I've seen the full Mike Douglas shows because they put them out years ago on video. So.
Yes, on video. And when I can, if something's not on DVD, I can transfer it. So I pretty much don't really deal with videotape anymore.
Right. I have them on DVD now, too. But, it's, of course, not a legal release. But anyway.
and as an aside, I wonder if the industry is disappointed. I really thought they thought that Blu-ray would take off much better than a standard DVD, and that's really not the case.
Yeah. Well, I think
some people are playing it this way. It's pretty knowledgeable that any commercial DVD that goes out on the market can be copied.
Yeah.
With a minimum of equipment.
Yeah.
All right, but a Blu-ray, unless you have a substantial expensive studio setup for copying or transferring to Blu-ray, that market really doesn't exist out there.
Yeah.
So some people are putting out their releases on Blu-ray and skipping DVD altogether, knowing that the Blu-ray can't be copied and resold.
Right.
I'll give you 2 releases that this is so. The recent Bob Dylan movie, Complete Unknown.
Yeah.
That is available on Blu-ray.
Yeah. Not
on DVD.
Right.
And the May Pang documentary about the Lost Weekend, again, she put that on Blu-ray, but it is unavailable in this country on DVD.
Interesting. Okay. I didn't know that.
So it's a smart move if you kind of want to keep what you've created to yourself for a little while.
Yeah.
5 years from we'll probably have Dolby Atmos consumer equipment in our homes to do whatever we want with. But as it stands right now, DVDs and videotapes, there's 99% of them can be copied and transferred without a problem.
Right. But I still like the home video releases of things. I mean, it's still it still bugs me that Disney Plus puts the remastered Let It Be, and the only way you can get it, unless you do illegal means, as it were, is to watch it on Disney Plus. Well, you have to pay a monthly fee to see that, or get a free month if you know how to do it. But you know what I mean. It's like you can't just go in your local shop or go on Amazon and order a copy of the remastered one legally. You know.
I don't get Disney Plus, and I never, I've never subscribed to it, but. I find it interesting, and all of it makes their way out onto the collector's market. So,
of course. I'm just talking about legitimate means. It's frustrating on that level. I mean, if I want it bad enough, I get it. So it really boils down to that. Unless it's something that really legitimately doesn't exist, and you've said a couple examples already. But
here's a thing where it's backfired.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Now, once the Get Back 8-hour documentary came out, everybody was clamoring for it to come on the home DVD market.
Right.
So it eventually did on Blu-ray and DVD, but they were not happy with the sales figures for it. Figuring if you've watched it on TV, that'll be good enough. And that's why they're holding back, not putting out the Let It Be Peter Jackson version, because they just don't think it's going to do very well.
Well, it would if they put extras and stuff that they...
Exactly. But don't we have all the extras we need on 8 hours of Get Back?
Perhaps. If you had other extras that weren't on either, but anyway, who knows?
I just don't think they're looking right now to make a buck off of that. Like, who knows down the line? As I was arguing with another collector, even the bar none, Peter Jackson's version of Let It Be is the best there's ever been. It's the best that it's ever going to be. Right. The audio is pristine. The picture is pristine.
Right.
No argument about that whatsoever. But it's still not identical to the original Michael Lindsay Hogg version. Yeah. So really the completist would have to have both. They'd have to have, we'll call it the Michael Lindsay Hogg version, and they would have to have the Peter Jackson version to have them both.
Yeah. What they should have done, if I was in charge, everybody has their hypotheticals, but I would have put Get Back on Blu-ray or whatever, and the original Lindsay Hogg as a bonus on there. Yeah. So if you don't want to get Disney Plus, you get it on the home video version, and that ends that. So there's incentive to get you to buy one because you're getting the other, or you could just do the streaming. But anyway.
Well, they've kind of, by this time, I would say anything major coming out, we will know about by June.
Yeah.
And already this year, we're looking at Paul McCartney's book on Wings.
Yeah.
People keep clamoring for a London Town / Back to the Egg box set, like they combined Wildlife and Red Rose Speedway a number of years ago. We're going to have, John's one-to-one stuff on October 9th. Mm-hmm. The Beatles anthology paperback would perfectly lead the way for a remastered version of the Beatles anthology, because that's never been on Blu-ray, so they could release that on Blu-ray or DVD and tweak all the soundtracks and everything. So there really is no end. And then, of course, at the end of the line, people are waiting for the Rubber Soul box set. So it never ends.
So you were going to go into Paul, so let's go into it. And I do have a question before you go into it. Is just you mentioned it just now, the London Town Back to the Egg stuff. Is the only thing holding it up, this is what I've heard, is the Rockestra stuff?
Okay.
Because of the artists involved.
Very well could be, because, I mean, the film itself was shot by MTL, Paul's company, and so they own the rights to it. Yeah, you really couldn't do Back to the Egg without that, or even the concerts for Campuchia concerts, a version of Rochester performed in live.
Yeah.
I'll have to see where that goes, but I'd love for them to do a combo box set. You could buy them separately, or if you bought them together, maybe throw in a third title like they did with Wildlife and Red Rose Speedway, which, by the way, is my favorite of all of the McCartney archive releases. I love that. I guess it happens. It was the time you lived in. Red Rose Speedway and Living in the Material World and the Red and Blue albums all came out just about as I was finishing off high school.
Okay.
So you tend to remember that time in your life. You can question a lot of people, and unless they're a collector or a music enthusiast, the music that tends to mean the most to people is their high school years. Because most kids were still living at home and going to high school and listening to the radio and going to concerts and buying their favorites. But, you know, after that, once these kids get into college, their life would be much more accounted for and busy. So you tend to remember, oh, gee, that was a great song from my college years. No, you got to back it up to the high school years. That's why that era has a particular fondness for me.
Now you made me depressed, because my high school years was Pipes of Peace, Milk and Honey, Old Wave, Gone Troppo.
Mark, I'm looking at 70 this year, and honestly, I feel 30. So there's nothing pretty much I can't do at 70 that I did at 30. Very, very blessed with good health, and I think some of that comes from the genes on my father's side of the family, because he passed at 89 and a half, and he could have passed for 60.
Wow. But no, I'm not saying that, well, I am saying this. The time period of my high school years of the Beatles solo stuff is kind of and I actually hark back to your era of high school, you know, Band on the Run and Ringo and, you know, whatever, you know. It's like
I was a Beatles fan from the very first Ed Sullivan show, and actually prior to the first Ed Sullivan show, in January of '64, the month before they came over, in school, there were already Beatles-related problems for sale in what they used to call the 5 and 10 cent stores. And there were Beatle cards, there were Beatle pencil cases, Beatles binders. All that stuff was out. Just slightly before they came. And so we already got to see what they looked like. And, of course, the music was on the radio already.
Yeah.
So I was a brave fellow that in elementary school I purchased, or I had a white Beatles binder, which I still own to this day.
Wow.
And girls kind of looked down at boys that liked the Beatles, for the reason is they thought the Beatles belonged to them, and the boys thought the Beatles were for girls. So you're kind of stuck in the middle there. I would have to hold the binder to my chest and not show off the picture, because I knew I was going to get in for some ribbing here or there. And I was a fan ever since. I was a member of the official Beatles fan club when it was Beatles USA Limited.
Yeah.
I pretty much jumped on board right from Meet the Beatles. So you know, in the solo years in the 70s, it was just like catching up with old friends. I awaited every release. And, of course, the communications back then wasn't what they are now with the internet. But, you know, we heard Paul McCartney had a new album coming out next week. Well, hey, we were going to be in the record store that next week.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I remember those days where, I would be surprised. I would go to the record store and I'd flip through. I mentioned Gone Troppo because it wasn't promoted very well, and I'm flipping through George's bin just to see if there's anything in there. And they go, "What's this album?" "Oh, a new one," you know. And so shortly after that, I became a subscriber to Beatle Fan, and I still am, because it's like, I don't know where to find out this news. Now I know how to find the news, but back then...
I actually found out Gone Trouble like you by accident. I was in my local record store on a Saturday night, which I went to. I'm a musician, so if I wasn't playing out on a Saturday night, I was at the shopping mall with the record store, came across Gone Trouble, and I had no idea that this was coming out. So did you ever hear of Joe Pope and the very, very first Beatles fanzine, Strawberry Fields Forever?
Yes, I have a few of them, yeah.
Okay, so I was in there with Joe from the beginning. I was at all three of his shows. In 1974, Joe held the first show in Boston, and then a couple months later, Mark Lapidus held the very first Beatle Fest in September of 74. So yeah, 74 was just gotten out of high school, and the solo Beatles were out in front of me here.
Yeah. I became a Beatle fan just at a really odd period. It's amazing I did, just from the standpoint. I mean, I knew about them, or of them, as early as 1969, when I was a little kid. But I didn't become a Beatles fan in earnest till 1977, which is probably like the worst period to become one. Because Lennon was retired, and Paul was on top still, but even 77 was kind of an oddball year for United States fans, and Ringo had Ringo the Fourth, and George had taken off a year, and so it's like. And then for new Beatles releases, they did Love Songs, which is just another rehash, and it's like, wow. And yet I became a fan around that time, but it was because of Saturday Night Live, so and Eric Idle. That's how I became, and through the Ruddles, vicariously through that. But
a Ruddles fan.
Yes. And I remember, when that Ringo TV special, which I assume you talk about in the book, that he did in 1978. That they had to hire extras to kind of mob him because nobody cared about him that much at that time.
Yeah, I could believe that, to make it look good for television.
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't have to do it now. I mean, you wouldn't have to pay anybody. People would do it, but there was that late 70s period where it seems like everybody's like, oh, Beatles are passé, the Clash was saying phony Beatlemania, and, that was in the 80s, but, it's like just... There was like until Lennon passed away, there was like this kind of ambivalence towards Beatles. It's like, if you wanted your Beatles, listen to ELO. I think even Lennon said that himself.
Yeah. Now, for about a decade and a half, it was the hardcore Beatle fans in the 70s and the first part of the 80s.
Yeah.
But in the mid-80s, the Beatles started to get rebirthed.
Right.
George with Cloud Nine, and then the Traveling Wilburys.
Right.
You had Paul at the end of the decade putting together Flowers in the Dirt, and then became a touring band with various musicians that lasts until today.
Right.
John, of course, were archive releases with John, and Ringo, he formed the All-Star Band, and that's a career that he still has till today.
No.
So the 90s treated the Beatles better than the second half of the 70s and the 80s did.
All right. Well, tying it back to your book again, did a lot of these videos that you talk about in the book, did a lot of them surface, as it were, when they were trying to compile the anthology? It seemed like that's when a bunch of them came to the front, as it were.
Yeah, I would say probably 90% of the anthology are easily identifiable clips. It's like when I watch something now, I sit there and go, oh, that's Ed Sullivan, oh, that's Shea Stadium, that's the rooftop. That's just how I look at video nowadays. I know there's the sources where they're taking all of these, excerpts from. But yeah, I hope they do the anthology, and I said they'll clean it up a little bit, and it stands at the most viable record of what they feel their careers were like from the 60s to the 90s.
Mm-hmm. Another question I have is, so you mentioned when we were talking about John and Yoko, you avoided Yoko with John tagging along, as it were. Was there anything on...
As far as the book goes, I
Okay,
did.
as far as the book goes,
I
that's
have
right.
probably just about everything that Yoko has done.
Okay.
Both on video and in audio.
Yeah.
So, and I like a lot of her stuff, and I appreciate a lot of her stuff, and some of the stuff I really can't get into.
Right.
But that's not to say you can't do it.
Yeah, but that's my point of the question is, so did you use that similar discretion for, say, George or Ringo? Like, did you put every film appearance by Ringo, like even like Born to Boogie that he directed, or did you leave stuff like that out?
Oh no, they're all in there.
Okay. I mean, granted, he did far fewer films than maybe John and Yoko did, so, you know, or
and
you know.
Likewise, I hate to lump these two together, but while I don't focus at all on Yoko in John's section,
Yeah.
I also don't focus on Ravi Shankar in George's section.
Okay. That makes sense, too.
Of
Yeah.
course, he's represented. He's not in the book.
Yeah.
But it wasn't all the films that Ravi Shankar did. George pretty much did have a hand in, so they are in the book. But I mean, Yoko has just after John's death, she continued to be active for a number of years until she kind of retired and then stepped back from the public eye.
Okay.
But Yoko seems to have a lot of books coming out about her recently, so I'm going to let someone else tackle every audio and video aspect of her career.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And was there any one Beatle or the Beatles themselves, any that was hard? Well, you said McCartney, so maybe we'll talk about him for a bit. What was hardest, just because there's so much, or what?
Yes, sometimes you dig down, and the deeper you dig down, the more you find.
Mm-hmm.
So I get just running through McCartney real quick here, and it follows the other George and Ringo as well. I always handle their promo films and videos first, whether it's Paul, George, or Ringo.
Okay.
For Paul, I took a detour and list all the video content from all his archive collection releases, so you don't have to pull out your box sets. If you look for a certain video, it's in this section of the book. Mm-hmm. Then I do their guest appearances. Mm-hmm. Again, for Paul, I do his MPL productions. That would be exclusive for him. And in George and Ringo, also, I do the select broadcasts, other appearances, TV ads, trailers, EPKs, which were electronic press kits, and internet promos. And I pretty much follow the same formula through George and Ringo. So we kind of took all of them there. As far as George goes, I take a detour from his stuff solely to listing all of the films he made for his movie company, Handmade Films. Even though he might not have had a direct hand in any of the music or appearing in them, but it's his money that made those movies.
Okay.
And for Ringo, I have to go into all of his Shining Time Station, Thomas the Tank Engine. Mm-hmm. Those are all listed. All-Star Band is, of course, exclusive to Ringo's section. But I think I haven't found anything that I did not include because everything I know is in the book, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Okay. And from here on out, I will just keep track of new releases. Mm-hmm. And who knows, maybe in 5 years there will be an updated edition because we'll have 5 more years. And God forbid, Paul and Ringo are in their 80s, and they're not going to live forever. And at some point, all of what they do on the side will stop.
Yeah. Or they'll start pulling things out we didn't know existed, like Prince or something, you know, who knows. Does Ringo have a big archive? I mean, he has a couple unreleased albums and stuff, I know. But, I mean, does he have an archive of films?
The Ringo section, again, it's fairly substantial. All of his promo films and videos. Then you got his All-Star Band. Okay. You got his feature film appearances. You got television appearances. TV commercial appearances, guest appearances for others, but not if it's audio only. He has to be in a video for it to be a guest appearance.
Right.
There are some minor what's the best word? Pop-up appearances in some videos, so it's not really featured based on him, but like he appears in a Nils Lofgren video drumming. It's not a Ringo video, but he's part of it because he's drumming along with it.
I mean,
and then of course Shining Time Station, which was his baby.
Do you get as obscure as his brief appearance in Monty Python's Flying Circus?
Oh yeah.
Okay, all right. Just want to see how thorough you are.
And as I say, it's not that I have seen or collected every piece of video out there. Nobody has. I state in my afterword or my outro that nobody has everything.
Yeah.
But that's the beauty of the hunt. That's the beauty of finding something you didn't have or know existed that you could add to your collection. Mm-hmm. I could honestly say everything in my book I have watched more than once. Obviously, a movie like A Hard Day's Night, I've probably seen that 50 times since 1964. And some other a TV commercial for one of George's albums I might have seen a few times so I could write about it.
Right.
But I honestly have seen everything in this book. I don't know of anything out there that I don't have. Mm. That just means someone hasn't gotten something and it gets out there. And nowadays it's so easy because if somebody finds something, they don't keep it a secret. Where's it going?
Yeah.
On the internet.
Right. Is there anything other than that 66 Beatles appearance that's kind of like a Holy Grail grouper solo?
Well, that's one. And as we talked about the UNICEF performance for John at the end of 69 there, those two are conspicuous by their absence. Yeah. And then, of course, we have, as I said, about a dozen television appearances in 1963 that the BBC did not save. They were broadcast once, and that's the end of it. And I guess the best we could hope for is someone shot it off their TV screen, like they did for some of the Paperback Writer and Rain Top of the Pops appearance. It's not going to be a very good quality. We know we did it, and I guess it's nice to have a few seconds of it, and even if it's in horrible quality, but it's a placekeeper. We know they did it, and we know we're never going to see it or get it. Yeah. And that's sad, but they left us so much to be thankful for. I always enjoy these people that say, well, I wish they would release that, or I wish they would do this. My God, haven't they given us all of this material? I mean, what other band or group of musicians out there could do an 8-hour documentary about 1 month of their life?
Right.
The closest I could think of, and this would be in second place by a long shot, would be the Rolling Stones.
Yeah.
Dylan does not have the video history that the Beatles and the Stones have. But I am a big Bob Dylan fan. I am a big Rolling Stones fan. I am a big Monkees fan. And that's something that Charles and I share, our love of the Beatles and the Monkees.
Mm-hmm. Here's a curious one, and I'm sure it's in the book, but you could, if you want to spill the beans on it. So the John and Paul 1968 appearance on Tonight Show with Joe Garagiola.
Right.
I mean, for years it seemed like there was nothing that existed. Then I heard audio, and then I've seen like crappy video bits. Is there a nice version out there, or is it just missing?
I never think of that as being high on my list because it's not musical.
I see. Okay.
Well, yeah. I guess if I had to pick a third one after the other two we talked about, because at least Paperback Writer and Rain is music, and the UNICEF concert is music. Yes, only the audio exists from the Tonight Show. Okay. And again, it's because it was videotaped in New York at the time, and Johnny wasn't even hosting that night. Right. So that tape was erased and used again.
Yeah, okay. Because I figured you were in the know, and you say, oh, yeah, it's circulating around collectors, wink, wink, but not, anywhere else. But
can't even say that. Yeah. Can't even say that. Okay. It would be nice see from a historical perspective.
Yeah.
Because there's the formation of Apple, and they're in New York, and
Right.
John and Paul, one of the last times they worked together on a project, which was going to become Apple and everything. And I think at the beginning, John is into it as much as Paul was.
Yeah.
But whereas I think Paul, and just an opinion, Paul wanted to become all things to all people. He wanted to find artists. He wanted to fund different arts and make Apple a home for the arts worldwide.
Yeah.
Where I think John saw it as a vehicle to promote him and especially Yoko.
Yeah.
And John of all John has only produced a few artists in his lifetime. Two on Apple, David Peel and the Elephant's Memory, come to mind. George produced dozens of people, as well as Paul, and given songs to. And then Ringo in the early 70s, he was just about on every UK session there was, from B.B. King to any number of acts
Right.
at the time. And so he was quite active as a drummer in the 70s. And I felt he really showed off and did some of his best drumming in the 70s, because I think the difference is with the Beatles, Paul was always very particular about what he wanted in a song.
Yeah.
And when Ringo would guest on other people's recordings, they're feeling, we got a Beatle in the studio. This is Ringo.
Yeah.
We're not going to tell Ringo what to do.
Right.
Ringo's going to do what he thinks is best because he's Ringo.
Yeah.
So you really get to hear Ringo's creativity as a drummer really a little more post-Beatles than when he was in the Beatles. Although some of the things he's done are classics, and I think Ringo has gained a lot of respect from the beginning of the All-Star Band in '89, because how many drummers are still on stage at 80-something performing at night, any number of concerts? There's not that many.
Right.
He certainly has proved himself as a great drummer.
Right.
And it also goes, he may not be the fastest, but he's certainly one of the most influential drummers of all time.
Even Pete Best retired, so there we go.
Yeah, interesting. Charles just recently saw him in Rhode Island, which borders on Connecticut. So it's not a very long trip from here.
Mm-hmm.
And I really didn't talk to him about that. I didn't even talk to him about Pete's retirement. But Charles posted some videos from his phone, and Pete was having a grand old time. And he drums on stage with his brother Rogue, who also plays drums. So it was a double drummer, a double drum set. Well, who knows? It's his own reasons. He's really not saying whether they're medical or whatever. It must be something he had to do immediately, because he was scheduled to play this summer in England, and those shows have been canceled and refunded.
Yeah. Well, kind of an aside, and I put this up recently, is there must be something about drumming that leads to longevity. Not for everyone, but all the Beatles drummers are still alive. All the Wings drummers are still alive. Jim Keltner's still alive. It's like
I'm a guitar player, keyboard player, and bass player, so I can sit behind a drum set and have fun. But I think drumming at that level, it is a lot of physical work.
Yeah.
I've known drummers that have hit 70 or so, and they pretty much hung up their sticks. They felt they were, by the end of their 60s, they were not as sharp as they were, and rather than go out and embarrass themselves, they quietly have hung their drumsticks up.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Just a thought and an aside. Anyway, one other clip I wanted to ask about, and I wanted to know how you dealt with it, and if you know anything about rights issues on this particular one. So John and Yoko appeared on the Jerry Lewis telethon in 1972.
Yes.
And for years, it was just like that Joe Garagiola appearance. It was like there was nothing, then there was audio, then there was a crappy video, and then now there's a full color video that I've seen. Who owns the rights to that, and why hasn't that appeared in any documentary of John and Yoko or anything else?
It's out there in beautiful quality. Yeah. I mean, I'm gonna guess it's the Lennon archives that have that. Mm-hmm. I don't think they would have given the Jerry Lewis people the right to use it in any way, shape, or form, because if they had the rights, they would have done it.
Yeah.
I mean, to have one of John Lennon's last live performances, I would think that the telethon would promote the crap out of that every year.
Right.
But I'm going to say, who knows? It may pop up in the one-to-one concert, because they had just the one-to-one concert had already taken place,
right.
And so this really was their last performance with Elephant's Memory.
Yeah.
So who knows? It may end up being a postscript to the one-to-one film.
Well, I'm hoping if they can do it or want to do it, or, is to kind of cobble together. I know there's been documentary films, but cobble together all those live appearances from, say, the Ann Arbor, I think that's what it's called, through the Mike Douglas show, through the one-to-one, through the Jerry Lewis thing, because they did a lot of performances in a short period of time,
Yeah, that is true.
But, and I assume you cover them all in the book, right?
They're all in here, my friend.
Yeah, because I think they were all recorded in some way, shape, or form, video-wise. So, yeah.
They managed to sneak out. But before we sign off, let me just do a shameful plug for my book. It is called The Beatles Collected Videography, a guide to collecting group and solo video, 1962 to 2024. It is available on Amazon, and of course, you got Amazon Prime. You'll have free shipping, or you can get it directly from me. You will contact me at billlast@att.net. They need all three L's in there. BILLLAST @att.net. And the way it works is for $25, you get a copy that I can sign, and that includes media mail.
Okay.
For $28, I can upgrade the shipping to Ground Advantage, meaning it might get to you a day or two earlier. There's really not that much of a difference, but some people I know want it in their hands ASAP. So I quote them the $28 price, and if you can wait an extra day or two, $25 will work for you. The basic price of the book is $20. On Amazon, however, the book is selling for $22.99. But when you work out the tax and shipping, it really all comes about to the same, whether you get it through Amazon or you get it through me.
Okay. And then appearances that you're doing now through the summer and maybe fall?
Well, Charles is kind of setting me up to do some things. We're going to have the unofficial book launch in 2 Saturdays from now on May 17th. Charles is holding one of his Fab Four festivals in Windsor, Connecticut. And they can go online to Liverpool Productions and get all kinds of information about that. But I'll be at a table there selling the book. And Charles has a few other promo appearances lined up for me. As I said, I did Plastic E.T.'s podcast from Australia. You are my second one. And whatever Charles throws my way, I'll certainly try to get out there and talk video with people. And even if they don't want to buy a book, I'm always happy to meet fellow Beatle fans.
Okay. Well, you certainly have sold me. I should send you an email with some money soon.
As far as, I guess the best way, I always take the check in the mail. That goes without saying. But we can do, if you email me, I'll send you the information. You can pay me through PayPal. Okay. And I'll book out to you the following day.
Sounds good. Okay. All right. Any last thoughts or anything else to say about the book? Or
very much for inviting me, and I hope we can keep in touch and talk Beatles and Monkeys in the future. As I originally told you, I am a big fan of your Monkeys books and your Turtles books.
Thank you.
And I really enjoyed those, and I hope you will enjoy my book as much.
Sounds good. All right. Well, we've had special guest Bill Last on here, and be sure to send him an email and order his book so he can sign one for you. And I want to thank you, Bill, for being my special guest again on the Fun Ideas podcast. This is your host, Mark Arnold, and we'll see you next time. Thank you for listening, and thank you, Bill Last, for being my special guest. Episode number 293 will be coming soon. If you would like to comment and or be a guest on this podcast, please drop me a line at funideas.mark@gmail.com. Become a free subscriber or a paying Patreon at Mark Arnold Fun Ideas Productions. If everyone listening just contributed $1 a month, it would be a tremendous help in continuing the production of my books and this podcast. The opening and closing music for this podcast is provided by Elmo and Elmo. This has been the Fun Ideas Podcast. This has been Mark Arnold speaking. This episode is copyright 2024 Fun Ideas Productions. Thank you and good night.
If you're unhappy most of the time, and you're indoors when the sun begins to shine, you're bogged down with responsibility. When the good sun shines, you can come out with me.